Welcome back to the Better Men, Better Ball Player podcast. I'm your host, Trey Cobb. I want to thank you for joining us here on our 79th episode of the podcast with Coach Nolan Neiman. Coach Neiman is the head coach at Manatee High School in Florida. He has had a wealth of experience from his time playing at DeSales University, as well as in playing a little professional baseball with the New Jersey Jackals, coaching at University of Pennsylvania, at Penn. Went back to play for his father to coach and be the recruiting coordinator at DeSales. Then had experience at Florida Gulf Coast University, been at University of Maryland, been at Millersville University, was the IMG post-grad coach, took over for the Florida Surge as their baseball director, coached in the coveted Valley League for the Staunton Braves, as well as been a scout for the Texas Rangers. He is currently the high school director for the Knation baseball program, and as well as the GM of Square Up Academy. But he is the head coach at Manatee High School, taking over there, and in his words, rebranding the program and creating his own culture and building it up his way and with his standards and his expectations. And we dive through a lot of that, and he really takes us through on what they're trying to do and how he's doing that. So, got to meet Coach Neiman back in his days at Maryland, and was touching base with him then, and that's when he got in with Coach Sheehan after that too. So knowing Coach Sheehan and through Neiman, that's how we've been able to have this relationship, and I can't thank him enough. He reached out and we touched base, we connected back again, and here we are, get a chance to talk some baseball, and that's exactly what this is about, and can't thank him for that. And so I know that you're going to enjoy it. It's a lot of great things people can take away through running a program, and just even putting your hat on if you're an assistant coach or thinking about, you might not even know what all the things a coach needs to do, and he kind of touches base on a lot of things and all these hats that coaches have to wear when you're trying to build a good program. There's so many different hats you got to wear, and you also need support from so many other things to run that good program. So, just really want to thank also to our sponsor, our netting pros, Will Miner, and our guys at Netting Professionals. Netting Professionals are improving programs one facility at a time. Netting Professionals specialize in design, fabrication, and installation of custom netting for backstops, batting cages, dugouts, scoreboards, BP screens, and ball carts. They also design and install digital wall padding, windscreen, turf protectors, dugout benches, dugout cubbies, and more. Will Miner, the Netting Pros guys, continue to provide quality products and services to many recreation, high school, and college fields, facilities, and stadiums throughout the country. Contact Will Miner, contact those Netting Pros guys at 844-620-2707 or info@nettingpros.com. Visit them online at www.nettingpros.com or check out Netting Pros on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn for all their latest products and projects. So again, thanks, Coach Neiman. Appreciate the help. Love connecting with you again, man. It was an absolute pleasure. Keep killing it at Manatee. Wish you nothing but the best of luck. All you guys, get ready for your notes. Enjoy the notes if you don't know that they are on Podbean. Will Miner does an awesome job. If you're not following Netting Pros and Netting Pros Chat on Twitter, does an awesome job promoting our stuff. He really helps us in Netting Pros Chat family. So very thankful for all that. So thank you, Will. And all you guys enjoy this. Here he is, Coach Nolan Neiman.
When I left IMG and, scouted and then started doing that, it was a different ballgame. I had the Florida Surge for a few years, which we started off with a 12U team and took them all the way till they got to high school. And, every one of those kids made the high school team, but, it was such a different environment than I was ever used to. And, my dad and I owned the Iron Colts up in Pennsylvania in Allentown. And, even with that, it was just completely different than any northern atmosphere of travel ball I've ever seen. It was games. It was all this kind of stuff. And it was just crazy, so it was kind of the educational piece of, all right, slow down a little bit, go from there and just kind of re-educate and build the system down here, so to speak. And it's been good, and then we took over nights this past January, and just we had 5 teams this summer, which was nice. We have 3 this fall. And then Florida is different too, where like fall ball's almost non-existent down here from the travel side. You have it, everybody has their teams, but it's not the same. And I think a lot of that is the rules are so much different down here with high school. Like we have a full high school program that's 4 days a week with 3 tournaments, and they play, 12 games and almost 20 total with the tournaments.
Okay.
So literally, I mean, I got off the field today and we're off tomorrow. We go Thursday and Friday again, until, basically until December 12th. So,
yeah, there's no wonder that,
it's a little different,
That's very different. Yeah, but that's understandable why there's not travel ball down there in the fall.
Yeah, and again, there is. I mean, there definitely is. It's just like our nights team, our 22 team, which was loaded. We only had like 4 come back off of like the 16 because they're all playing with their high schools, and their high schools don't let them play travel, or they don't want them to play a continual travel type thing. You can guest play and stuff like that, or just go play in a tournament here or there, but it's just different, and it's weird, and then down here too, when you're done, as soon as Jupiter's over, everybody shuts down, you're done. Like it's crazy. So at that level now, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, I mean, shoot, there's tournaments every weekend of the year here in Bradenton because we're the hub for USSSA. So literally I was umpiring kind of just for the hell of it in between stuff, and make good money, but literally I could have worked every weekend of the year except for Christmas, New Year, and Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's no wonder, but that I think even, I mean, how it is up here in the Northeast.
Yeah,
it is like people naturally shut down, and like they have the arm kind of program.
Right.
The biggest thing in the Northeast, we have to get the kids started before that, because you have to find ways to get them throwing before we can actually get on the field in March. That's the biggest thing. But like, I think a lot of the throwing programs, like the Jaeger stuff, is really for like you guys that can throw
all the time.
Yeah. And like, you can't do all the time.
No, you're right. It's just crazy. And, like I said, I was the devil when I took over Surge because they were playing, 12, 13 tournaments a season. And the season is, fall, basically August to December. And then you take December, January off. You play February to June. And you take June and July off because it's too hot, so little kids we don't do anything in the summer. But, I was like the devil. They were playing 12 tournaments. I'm like, no. We're playing like 7, and it was just a crazy kind of transition. But, they understood. My argument was like, guys, like, at 7 tournaments, that's 21 games minimum. If not, and we were really good. We were 5th in the state. Like, so we were playing 5 a weekend. So that, it's 35 games. Like a high school season's 25 in Florida.
Yeah.
A college season's between 40 and 56. Why are we playing the same amount of games as those guys are there at 22 and you guys are 11 and 12? That makes 0 sense. And it's just like, we got to play. No, we got to practice. We got to develop. And that's kind of how the whole academy came about. And, the guy who owns the academy, his son was on my travel team and kind of started talking about this whole thing. And he kind of really, it clicked and resonated with him. And, here we are 4 years later.
Well, that's a square up academy, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So what's all that about?
Basically we have 23,000 square feet of indoor facility here in Florida, which they're starting to pop up more and more, but it's more of the mom and pop 1 or 2 cages. We have 8 cages, 2 mounds, a weight room. The Florida Catcher's Lab is here, pro shop, the whole thing. So, I mean, it's like being up north in inside an academy.
Yeah,
it's nice, But again, it's the education piece. Well, why we got to come inside and develop when I can just go take my son to the cage on the corner street and hit? Well, because it's not doing them justice, and so it's still a transition, but the academy is doing well. I mean, we're in year 4, and every year's been better than the last. We never got shut down for COVID. That was nice. We actually were an essential business because we offered camps, so it was a nice little loophole for us to stay open and do some work anyway with as many players as we could. So,
oh, that's cool, man. That's super cool. So. It's just funny, man. Like with the I think all the education that we have to still provide, and it's like, even as much as like when to shut down, especially in your area, guys want to just play all the time. And,
and you gotta be aware of it, because if you don't, and you try to shut down too soon or start too late, you lose kids, to other teams, and whether they try to guest play and then it's like, defeats the purpose anyway, or, they just physically up and leave it to a different team because you're not offering what somebody else is offering. So it's very cutthroat from that standpoint, in a good and bad way. I mean, I get it, but, bad, they don't get it's jump ship. All right. Hey, it's, the additive. Okay. He's not offering what I want. So I'm going to go over there. He's not doing it. So he's there, and then you get kids that are playing on 5, 6, 7 travel teams by the time they reach high school, and it's like, man, come on. When I first took over Surge, we had a 12U team. There was 8 teams in our county. Our county's not that big, just our county, and they were all legitimate teams. It's not like it was top and bottom. I mean, everybody was pretty much even. So it was just unique, and then obviously the state of Florida is just so big in general that, you try to find things to get through, and the players that are here it's absurd. But, it's just, again, educating the parents and trying to get them on board, like anything, like run a high school program or a college program. It's, how can you get guys to believe in what you're doing? And if you do,
Amen.
You're successful.
Amen. That's right. So like when do you revolve things around like your high school program? Like, is that how you've kind of structured it where like you're shutting down kids? And I guess it depends on like, cause the youth level, you could kind of roll at the same time, but are you still taking off in the summer? Is that how you're is that the mold, is like saying, when do I want my high school guys to shut down and kind of building them up?
Yeah. So high school here is a little different than up there, where I have to shut down a month before spring practice starts. So basically, let's call it, we start, our tryouts are January 24th. So, so figure Christmas, right? The week before that is finals week or whatever. So basically, we're going to shut down the 12th or 13th, whatever that Sunday is before then. That's our last tournament. And then, so they'll have a month off of there. And then we'll come back. And then once we lose your district game or state game or whatever your last game of the year is, you can't do anything until the championship game for the state's over, which is the end of May. So if you lose May 3rd, you can't do anything until May 25th or whatever it is. Call it June 1st. So there's some built-in time there, obviously, which is nice. But then, they're going home, man. Like I asked them, what do you want? What do you want from the program? And this fall, they wanted to do, 2 days a week in the weight room and the cages. They do yoga once a week. We do mental conditioning once a week, and kind of in that program rotation. And then we're on the field 2 days a week, and one day is speed on the field, other days team, other days individual, kind of built in. So they want it, and it's a credit to what these kids want to do. They've never really had the program kind of in place to succeed before we got here. And I feel like that's been the biggest change in Manatee baseball was, they have something they're fired up about and want to be at, and they're shooting for right now. So.
And this is let's see, you've been there since what?
This is my second year.
Second year before COVID. So you took over from COVID, right?
I took over last year, last November. So this past 2021 was the first season I was here. I got hired, I guess it was beginning of November, late or middle November, somewhere in there. So I had basically a month with them before we had to shut down. And then this whole past spring, and then our summer, and now we're in our fall program.
What have you, man, like, cause you've been like, based off of all your different stops and like, you've seen so many different ways of kind of building a culture, man. Like, what have you taken away to try and build this one?
Yeah, it's the word we've been using is rebrand, right? So we tried to rebrand everything from the logo to uniforms to practice gear to signage in the clubhouse. I mean, literally, we took 3 truckloads of stuff to the dumpster. It looked like the Clampets going into town with their truck stacked, 30 feet high. And we just started over. It was like, we're just going to start over. And it wasn't, a lack of anything from before. It was time for a change. And, to these guys' credit, they came in and they bought in everything from day one, and, just trying to preach that aggressive, blue collar, competitive, hard nosed, accountable culture that, it can be successful, and at times I feel like, if we don't push them and push on them, that they're not going to get it from anywhere else, whether that's in school or home or wherever. But, they do a good job. They really come and they work hard every day and they really try to push. We talk about family a lot and, not taking the credit. And, if you don't care who gets the credit, we're going to be successful. Because it hasn't been a talent issue. It really hasn't. It was more of a accountability, a detail-oriented approach, having just a plan, having a band program, having a throwing program, having a hitting, philosophy and approach, having a defensive plan, and just kind of putting that all together like successful programs do. And, the more that they're into it, they buy in. And, like any place, especially in high school, you're going to get kickback. You're dealing with, teenage boys. But, you just got to stay on them. You got to keep pushing. And you've been there. And, that's why you guys were successful is, they're going to buy into a culture that's conducive for winning and competing. Whether you ever win a state championship or not, doesn't really matter. Yeah, that'd be nice. But are you going to get them to compete and push themselves in the right direction? So when they leave you, they're going to be successful in college or life or whatever it is. And do they know the game? I think that's the biggest thing is, do they know the game of baseball and understand it? And can they take that and relate it to somebody else or a life situation, as we go through it? So, to kind of answer your question, it's kind of just staying on them and having that accountable attitude and mindset, and making sure that they're there for the right reasons. And again, they're teenage boys, so they're going to come in with emotional issues left and right, but okay, how can you combat that and compress it to not worry for 2 hours while we're on the field or whatever it is? And they've done a good job so far. I've been my staff and I are very pleased with how quick the rebrand has happened. The wins weren't there last year yet, but with that said, we had 3 players suspended for 13 games, and they were 3 starters because of some actions that they had off the field. And, hey, that's proven the point. It's not about wins and losses. It's about, you're going to fix this and fix the program and, be involved in the community and do good things on all aspects. If you can do that, we're going to be good,
Mm-hmm. Awesome, man. Yeah, it's a hard thing to do, man. You're trying to hold people accountable and on a lot of it, for even adults, hard to hold people accountable, hold your own kids accountable and everything, man. It's serious, man. It's good. It's a good stuff there. I think I love, because I think people need to hear more of that too, like with the culture. And Pete Savage, I got a chance to talk to him and he's phenomenal. Mm-hmm. And like, that's where it seems like that's where your kind of relationship is like, look, we're showing you all of these great things that this program is about, from the band work all the way to here's how you're going to catch a baseball. And I like that in terms of you're showing them that you're competent. You're showing them that you know what you're talking about, and I love that, like you're being able, I think from a culture standpoint, like that's the relationship too, that you're building is one of a highly successful, competent baseball player.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's, and baseball it's a tricky game. I mean, you always have to learn and you're never going to know everything. And, it's important to surround yourself with good coaches that you can trust and let them work and, not micromanage them. And, I feel like we've done that here and have a great staff and only getting better, and they're learning every day from each other and kind of all backgrounds and facets of life. And it's been really good to have us all together and do that. And, I think, again, always keeping them learning, always adapting to different things too. I mean, we're in a baseball society that's tricky right now. There's a lot of stuff that is at people's fingertips that, right or wrong, doesn't matter, can be good or detrimental to your program very quickly. And, so trying to stay on top of those kind of things, but laying that foundation, getting them on board, with everything. And the results will come. And it's the, Rome wasn't built in a day, but you try to, but as long as they're seeing the rewards, whether it's, they're getting bigger and stronger, we do our exit velo program off the bat. That's very detailed. And we had guys with 5, 6, 7, 13 miles an hour jumps this summer, just because they've never done anything like that before. So, doing things like that is good for them because they're learning and they're getting excited about what they're doing. And if they're excited, we're going to be successful, and rebranding the community, that was, getting them involved, whether that's, doing concession stands for Little League games or, umpiring for Little League games, or, we do a ton of fundraising in the community, small events, big events, that kind of stuff, football games, but just being present and being out there for people to see. And in return, guess what? We sold out 3 times this year, and it's an electric atmosphere when those guys are there. Win or lose, people are coming back out, which is awesome.
That is cool, man. I just love being a sellout at a high school game. God, that's super cool, man. I'm telling you, I'm pretty jealous. That's super cool.
It was weird last year with COVID because we had, ticket spigot or whatever it's called, and you have to set your sellout number, and we actually had to open it up 3 times one game and keep going because people were just all over the place. And we have a nice little community park stadium looking thing, and it's, if you're not inside, you can't see. So it was pretty cool to see that, and our RID was pretty pumped.
That is cool.
Yeah,
that is really cool, man. That's cool. So oh man, so what? Let's give us some lessons. I'm just thinking of because with you and all the stops, and you've had so much experience, when you've talked about your band program, and you talked about your, going into the community, are there parts of your experience that you say wow, I'm going to do that, when I'm with this guy, or we need to do a little bit of this, where have you found when you're during your stops that you're oh man,
yeah.
What have you learned the most, I guess you could say?
Yeah, it's I think every stop is unique, and I'll tell you that from day one is, at the 5 schools I was at, before here, and the different levels, everything is different. There's some things that are obviously the same in relevance, but every school is different, every program is different, every level is different. And, the more that you can absorb and take in from each, good or bad, is a good thing. My first job was at Penn right out of college, and played a couple of weeks of professional ball and got hurt and got released, and no big deal, whatever, and started coaching right away. I knew that was my future, my passion. And, I think that taught me how to be very, very detail oriented. John Cole was the head coach there, who was, a former assistant at William & Mary in North Carolina, and, did a great job with very, very detail oriented things all the way around, which is a lot of, kind of has how I am today because of that. I leave there and go, we actually work for my dad at DeSales University, and was there for 2 years with him as his top assistant and, recruiting coordinator. And he was great because he let me work. He let me kind of run things and kind of stayed back and watched. And, when I did something dumb, he'd tell me, and when I did something good, he would tell me. And he's been very successful with that that pattern with his assistants. And, you check his track record, and obviously the wins are what they are, but, every one of his assistants move on to bigger jobs, and I was the same way. But, being there really taught me how to kind of run a team and get a team to follow me, and, hey, okay, let's get on board. And that's kind of where I learned being at DeSales. And then I leave there, I go to Florida Gulf Coast. Awesome experience. Was number 2 assistant there with Coach Tillett and Rusty McKee, and, was lucky enough to have 2 big leaguers on our team, in Chris Sale and Jacob Barnes, and, great kids, and understanding what the different level of work ethic was, and me, a small town kid from Center Valley, Pennsylvania, and, coach at Penn for a year, then back there at DeSales. And now I'm in Fort Myers, Florida with, one of the top mid-major programs in the country, just went Division I, with those players, and understanding a different level of competition in the country. And I think I learned some of my toughness coaching from there was how to demand and, demand perfection and demand results. I learned that from Rusty and Toe a lot, and those, that's why they're successful, and that's why they're one of the best mid-major program in the country, is they get tough kids that run through walls. They demand a lot, and the response is very well. And then I was only there a year, fortunately. Eric Backus got the job at Maryland and called me, and, ended up going back home, and, wasn't going to leave FGCU. And Toe's like, Nolan, if you don't, I'm going to fire you. And he's like, you need to go, be with Eric and be in the ACC, closer to home, the whole kit and caboodle. And, I think that's where my coaching kind of resume really started from my beliefs and what I did. Eric's awesome. He is a huge motivator, a very organized person. Very detail oriented again. And again, I had that before, but just seeing it in a different level and a different style type of program was important. It was important for my development. Learned a lot from him. Sean Kenny was there as well, who's now at Georgia. And obviously Eric's now head coach in Michigan, but those two I learned a lot from, and it was taking that game to the next level, adding more of the mental side to things, adding more of the physical side to things, and again, very detail oriented. And Eric was great because he let me work. I had the best job in the country. I tell everybody that. I was the volunteer there, but I got to run camps, run practice, coach third base, and really be ingrained and in depth in everything that the program happened, from behind the scenes and on the field. I was there for 2 years, and we helped build that program back up and that rebrand, as I called it, with our program here. And obviously we all ended up leaving and going different spots. But my next stop was at Millersville. And John Sheehan, unbelievable. One of my friends for a long time, used to work camps. We're the same age. When I called him and he had a job post, and I called him just goofing around, being like, "Hey, this is Nolan trying to call for your assistant job." And he started laughing at me, and then we started talking, and he's like, "No, let's do this." So, great opportunity for me, and go to a top Division II program in the country that was just off the World Series berth. We had top 5 recruiting classes when I was there. Endless, pro guys that were there, big leaguer and Tim Meza and Chaz McCormick, but really John was unique because it was more of a quiet confidence, again, very organized, very detailed leadership, style. But at the same time, he taught me very, about the relationships a lot more, because when you're at those Division I schools, it's about winning, and it's about winning and go and get them and be the best you can be. But when you're at a place like Millersville or DeSales, you got to build a relationship. You have to build a program from within first, and you can't just go get, a player here or there that's going to be a top guy in the country. You got to really go in and build a relationship, from inside, and, still talk to pretty much all those players that were there in those couple of years that I was with, on a constant basis, throughout the year. And that's really cool. To be able to learn and have them know that you care. And when they know you care, then they're going to care. And that's, again, that full build in, and you can obviously see what John has done there in, the last, whatever it was, 12 years, 15 years, whatever it's been, but done a great job. And, obviously just talked to him the other day, actually, and, talking about some things, and he's on the way, and he's on the way, and hopefully he's got a chance to be at someplace bigger and better. But, like I tell everybody, it's not always greener, and he's got a great situation that, at his alma mater, winning top program in the country, just like my dad. And, it's a place he can be at for the rest of his life and be happy. And I think that's the biggest thing is, learning how to be happy in this game, no matter what level you're at, and the lifestyle and things we talked about earlier with family. And, that was a lot of the reasons that, moves have happened for a lot of people. But learning those things from those spots, baseball wise, again, hitting stuff was from Rusty, band program. We did it at Maryland in depth, the pitching development stuff at Maryland, the defensive stuff at Maryland, that kind of stuff is where, I learned the baseball side of things at a different level than I was used to, and then I'm fortunate to go to IMG and run their post-grad program for a few years, and, had a chance to run my program and use the things I was taught and use those philosophies in a different setting. And, there it was like a 1-year JUCO, I had 35 guys a year and had to recruit them and place them. So it was a full circle program in 1 year, which is unique. At least in JUCO you get 2, everybody else you get 4. Like, I got them for 9 months, 10 months, so trying to get them to build in was huge. So I think that's where my psychology part of how I run our program and how I do things came from, because you had to be on top of it from day one and get them to buy in. Because if you didn't, it's a disaster year. They're going from high school programs that have 15 kids and they're playing every day to you got 35 kids for 1 year. And you're only playing 9, because you're playing every JUCO, every Division II, NAIA, Division III JV program that comes into Florida. You're playing other post-grad schools. So you got a lot to do quickly, and get them to understand that if they're not playing, that's okay. They're not going to all go to LSU. We might go to, I don't know, Sewanee, in Tennessee or someplace like that, they may have never heard of, but opening doors for them to move them along and understand that they're there and they got a great education and they played baseball for 4 years. That's huge. So, certainly taking all those stops and put them together for sure. And, been very fortunate, wouldn't change any of them for anything. Everything's happened for a reason, especially jobs that you get and you go to. And, I think it's made me who I am today for sure. I've definitely mellowed, just like you and everybody else. Young coach, you're fiery and you want wins right away. And, now it's okay. Hey, let's take a step back. Let's develop. Why is these things happening? Why are these things going on? How can we change them? And those are huge assets to any program, I think.
Yeah, man, that was great. I appreciate that, Coach. That was great just to hear that. I think just, being able to take all those different things and, like you said, learn from it it's so valuable. It's super valuable. And just like, being able to be successful in those places or even another layer of it, where, like you said, IMG, like, you got to have a feel of like, all right, here's what this is real quick. And we got to, coach these guys up real quick. They got to get on board, and that we have the connections enough to put them where they need to be, that's a big challenge there for sure. IMG, that's a big challenge.
Yeah. And it was fun. I mean, it's a belief system, right? Like in any place, no matter where you are, if you can get them to believe in you, they're going to play hard. They're going to run through a wall. And whether you're the best player in the world or not, if they can believe, they're going to try to be the best player. They're going to try to do things the right way. And the results are going to be there because of that. It's that's one thing that was really cool there was, you had some great guys. I had, Jake Nix and Brady Aiken were there, 2 first and third round pick, but they worked just as hard as the kid that, went to whatever JUCO that nobody's ever heard of, and that's okay. And we were fortunate. We were very lucky. We had 100% placement rate in the 3 years and 3 draft picks, and everywhere in between. So it was really cool to be able to get them to believe and buy in. And that starts from day one, the first meeting of the day and of the year, you crush that week, and that first weekend, it's team building week, and it's intense, It has to be because if you wait till January to try to get them to buy in or come together as a team, it's too late. You play 20 games in the fall, 25 in the fall, you play 50 in the spring. Like if you wait till January, it's too late. It's going to be tough, and you got to go from day one. So it was fun though. It was definitely a challenge, but it was fun.
I bet. I'm just thinking, like, what looking at all those things, what's like one of the best? Like, you have the team building week. What's the best things that you like to do in order to kind of build those teams?
Yeah, I mean, IMG was a little different because you had to do it so quick. So, good friend of mine, Jeremy Tannehill, came in. He was actually a Black Hawk helicopter pilot. Does a lot of team motivating stuff now. It's called Be the Best. He would come in and do that weekend with us, and he was awesome. I mean, he would crush them. It was fun to watch, but by the end of it, it was about giving yourself up for the guy next to you. Just like if you were in the military somewhere, and I don't want to call it a militaristic approach, but there's a lot of those assets that we talk about a lot. Who do you want in your foxhole? What are you going to do for the guy next to you? You're going to trust him to save you. And if those assets come forward and those traits come forward out of kids, then they're going to be successful. Whether that's in class with, a test, whether that's in the community, whether that's going to college, whether that's on the field, you're going to start seeing some of those leadership things come out. Now, as you know, it's hard to build leaders in this culture right now. And, when you do get a natural one, it's few and far between, but there's certain types of leaders that you can develop and you can make, whether they know it or not, and it's just having that kid who was real quiet, all of a sudden cheer for his teammates, That's being a leader, and doing things the right way. Or, we talk about the inverted triangle a lot, where you lead by example and you lead from the top, and that service leadership, so to speak. And if I serve them, they're going to serve guys under them. I've got to be the one raking the field after games, not the freshman. And we don't actually do it the other way around. I mean, it's all our seniors have responsibilities. So I do, our coaching staff does, our seniors do, our underclassmen don't. I want them to be able to learn and see, hey, it's not a initiation, be a freshman, you'll get the water. No, seniors, you'll get the water. And the more that they can learn, because it's a crucial year for them, especially in high school. I want them to walk into Eric's program or my dad's or my brother's or John's or wherever and say, okay, I got it. I know how to do it. I'm ready for it. And there's no surprises. That's huge, to be able to do that for them. And, I think in the high school setting now, it's a little different than IMG because, again, it's so you have more time. But, same thing, have the inverted triangle and create opportunity. We have a leadership council here, one guy from each class. And then we have a fifth guy who's just kind of our coach's pick, and they're in charge of doing, we do concession stands for the USSSA tournaments here in town. They're in charge of getting guys to work them. They're in charge of community service, making sure people are there. They're in charge of anytime we do a fundraiser or something like that where they get a reward for a different level, they get to pick what it is, so just those type of things. We meet once a week and how we can do things better. If kids aren't on the same page, how can we get them there? If kids aren't showing up for some reason, all right, how can we get them there? Those type of things that just want to put some, again, accountability back on their teammates to be successful, because, hey, as a senior, it's your last shot, like this program is only going to be what you guys put into it. I can put them give them the plan. You can give them the plan. You can give them the blueprint. But, if they don't want to follow it, then we got to try to adapt and make sure that it's as close as possible. So those guys do a good job.
That's awesome. Leadership council. Let's dive in a little bit more of that if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Because I had one as well. Just seeing how you structured it. You said, just so I'm clear, you said one guy from each class, and then the coaches would pick just another one, or would they pick another one from each class?
Just another one. Just kind of
one guy, so make sure that hey, we know we have another guy. Might it be two juniors? It could be two seniors. Right.
Yes. So okay. We have two seniors this year, junior, sophomore, freshman. And one, it's just to basically have an odd number. So when we do vote,
okay,
we're not going to get a tie, but it's
that's a good idea.
Again, possession those leadership abilities and traits that, okay, hey, I can trust you. And it's kids that are really good in the classroom. It's guys that show up every day. It's guys that always want to help out and always volunteer. And I didn't do it at first, and I waited a couple months to see kind of who those guys were, and then actually let our players vote. Each class got to vote for their guy. And we had one get voted in that we had to let go from that position and put somebody else in there, because he didn't live up to the expectation, and it's just, again, having that accountability of, okay, hey, your teammates picked you, but, I'm still judge and jury and get the right to refuse you if you do something that's going to embarrass the team. I don't give out a full, binder of rules. It's, don't embarrass the team. And, if you do, guess what? I'm the judge and jury, and I can decide case by case what that is. And them knowing that lets them kind of make decisions, but hopefully that makes them think about decisions, because it is, you give them a sheet of paper saying you can do X, you can do Y, you can't do Z, then they're going to try to toe that line as much as they can. Well, this way they always got to think about it, so if you got to think about the decision, it's probably not a good one. So, it's those type of kids that are on board that, want this program to succeed. They want to see the change in the program, in the school, in the community, in the area. So the more we can do those sorts of things, the better.
I used to love too. I used to love about it gives time to communicate. Like you're giving time for kids to maybe bring something to the table. Like you said, how can we reach this kid? Let's talk about it. Do you focus any on like the individual kids too, like during the leadership? Like, do you offer them time to like work on their own leadership, or like maybe what they're trying to do, or is it mostly just tailored right now? Is it right now to just the team, what the team's doing?
A little bit of both. I mean, there's some opportunities for them to kind of lead outside. With our hitting facility, with our speed coach, who they're outside entities from our program. So I know guys take each other under the wing and they do extra speed on the weekends, or they'll go hit by themselves, and those guys are kind of spearheading that. A couple of them are in student government and those type of FCA and those type of things on campus as well. So, like you said, it's giving them a voice a little bit, because again, it's not a cookie cutter etched in stone type of thing. A program can't be that way. It's got to be able to have, some give and take in places. And, there's some absolutes that I'm not going to give on, but there's a lot that, hey, if, something's not working, then we're going to have to adapt and adjust. And, I think for me, that's been the biggest challenge in high school is, in college, I'm recruiting my own players. I'm recruiting guys that are going to fit my system and run the way I want them to run. Here, it's okay, well, here's the hand you're dealt. Okay, so how can we take these 40 guys in the program and, put them on the same page? And, you might not have to, I'm a big West Coast kind of style offense. We run, bunt, steal, hit and run, all that kind of stuff. But, there's like last year, we were the worst bunting team probably in the country, and they've never did it before at our school. And those kids never did it. So it was a long, long road to get them to do it. I mean, we had a JV tournament, this past weekend, and we got 3 bunts down successfully. That's more than the JV team had all last year. So, and that's just the way it was, so we couldn't do some of the things last year that I really wanted to. Now we will this year because they've learned it and they've gotten, ingrained in their head and their ability to do it. But, taking over a month before the season starts was tough. We didn't get a real chance to be able to do some of those things. So just kind of a good example how you have to kind of adapt to, your clientele, and it's definitely different in high school, and that. So.
Oh yeah, very different. But it just takes time, consistency, to get there. And like you said, the expectations, and people realize, cultures. You just got to keep pounding stone, man.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's the involvement, right? And it's not just with you and your coaches and your program, it's the community, so getting into the little league system and doing coaches clinics for them, doing, real small clinics for those guys before their seasons is huge. Like, this in September, every Friday, we do a half-hour little mini coaches clinic for, the little league coaches that are right there in town, and their fields actually butt up to ours. So they're there for practice anyway. So they come over for a half hour and they watch our practice, and we kind of talk through things. Like last Friday was practice planning. This Friday's pitching, next Friday's catching, then defense. And it's just real quick, but just giving them a couple nuggets that they can take back and, help developing those kids, whether they're 11 or 9 or 14 or whatever it may be, trying to get those kids on board and getting them excited about Manatee baseball. It's the flagship school in our county, like it was at Maryland when we were there, and it's the oldest school in the county. It was 1897 was the first year of it. And they've had baseball pretty much every year since. The history is there. They were the 1937 national champions, 36, 37 state champions, won 2 more in the 60s. And then, have won numerous districts and that sort of thing. But the last 10 years or so hasn't really been there. And, not sure why. Don't really know. Wasn't really here. But now getting that community excitement back in, and that's through fundraising and again, the little league system, and just being at football games, being at basketball games, having our guys be present. And, they go to the soccer game, guess what? The soccer kids come to their game, and that kind of thing. So, being involved in their school and their community, whether it's them or us or anybody is a huge trait for good programs, and the more buzz you have, more people come, and more sponsorship you get, and, the better players will eventually come and be a part of it.
Absolutely. Well, because it is high school. It's bigger than just the wins and losses for sure. But the community of the school is important. Because a lot of the kids, aren't going to play and they're going to play on. And so that experience is important.
Right. Yeah. And, at the end of the day, look, what is the goal, right? The goal is to move them on, whatever that is, whether that's the military, whether that's trade school, whether that's the working life, whether that's college, whether that's college baseball, whether that's pro ball. They're going to have an option to do something. All right. So how can we prepare them for that option? And it goes back to the relationship of knowing your kids. I have a couple kids that they're really good players, but they were traditionally the kid who would just show up, the first day of tryouts, play till the last day of the season, and then they'd go on and do their stuff. And opening their eyes to, hey, this might be a future for you if you really want to do this. Or, okay, hey, I know that you just want to be a fisherman or you want to be whatever it might be, and accepting that a little bit too sometimes is hard as a coach, but, helping them succeed. Okay, well, how can I relate baseball to what you like to do, whether that's being a mechanic or, a fisherman or whatever, or, an engineer or work for NASA or whatever it might be. How can we relate these experiences to what you may encounter in the next, 4, 10, 40, 50, 60 years of your life? So that's the unique thing too, is, okay, it's not everybody's goal to play professional baseball. It's not every goal to play college baseball. They just play because they want to have fun. Okay, well, can you open their eyes to why it's fun and what they could really do? Or is it just, okay, hey, let me get the most out of you I can, and then, give you a hug and be happy for you and say, call me if you need me, and anywhere in between. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Like it. Love it. I've been just thinking about just maybe diving into some specific things. You're talking about rebranding too, like rebranding and you kind of talk West Coast offense, bringing in that. Did you find that, is that just something that you want to instill in the program, or is that something that the clientele that you were dealt needed to play at?
No, before I was there, it was very much a just sit back and pro style hit type of program, which nothing wrong with that. This group can't do that. They're not going to hit 3, 4, 5 home runs. We play in a big park. We hit 3 last year as a team total, and they're going to have to do the little things the right way to win games and be detail oriented, where they can bunt guys over, they can hit and run, they can steal, they can just, put balls where they have to. It's kind of always been my philosophy, just because it's more fun in my mind. It's great to sit back and play for a big inning, but how about let's just go create the inning? Let's not wait for it. And, I think that was, something that my dad always ran, and John did too, at Penn and in Millersville we did, and Eric did too. I've always been in that system, so to speak. So as different as those programs are, those philosophies were always there and pretty much instilled in me as a player and then a coach. The more pressure you can put on guys, let's do it. I love facing those teams that the big guys just try to sit back and hit home runs. So all you got to do is change up and curveball them to death, and you win the game. Whether it doesn't matter what you do, you're going to keep them off balance and win a game. But if you get that team that's going to bunt and run and steal and hit and run, hit behind guys, and all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, here we go. One guy turns to 4, and then it's a 5-run inning. Real quick. So it's just kind of a more interesting, more fun atmosphere. And I think the fans like it too. When there's action, you try to create action. Let's face it, most high school fans that come to games, their family, girlfriends, friends, or community guys that have been there forever. They don't necessarily know baseball to the extent that you'd like them to, but they're going to come out if it's an exciting atmosphere. And try to create that entertainment factor in what we do. So, the more people are running around and things are going crazy, that the more fun they're going to have. So that's kind of why I've always liked it.
Okay, cool. So it's a little bit of both, but like you said, bigger park, might needing to do those kind of things. So as you are, how do you introduce that, like when you're trying to bring in, like you said, you're talking about your offensive philosophy and being able to do that, are you having classroom sessions, and then are you bringing into it, like, and you start with bunting, or do you start with like how we're going to run the bases? Are you just throwing in the situations?
Yeah. At first it was really start with base running. that's where you can create the most havoc, right? So it's a track meet mentality, so to speak. All right, home to first in 4 seconds. We want to be at second base in under 10. We want to work on tight turns and aggressive leads. Run a Mike Roberts style base running philosophy where, we're going to try to expose pitchers and other defenses and how we can be successful and steal a lot of bases. And we did this year. We did a pretty good job learning the system. First year is always tough because you always get a lot of guys picked off, and it is what it is. But as they get through now they're starting to understand different leads, different distances, different jumps, different holds, different looks. And now all of a sudden they turn into, a guy that's pretty dangerous in a lot of different ways, whether it be a straight steal or a jump steal or, a hold steal or whatever it may be. It's that now they got some weapons to use, and the more weapons we can give these guys, the better we're going to be as a whole. So we start there a lot, and then kind of coincides with bunting. Those philosophies are pretty straightforward. I don't like to bunt to second base. I never do, unless we have to if it's late. But lead off double, bunt them a third. A lot more ways to score from third than second. First and second, nobody out, bunt them over. Give up that one out, especially in high school. I mean, how many times you do that and the next pitch is a pass ball, or they spike a breaking ball, or they don't give you a breaking ball, right? I mean, it was college baseball a couple of years ago. It was like 97% that if you steal third base, the next pitch is going to be a fastball away. Like 97% of the time. So, okay, knowing that, I'm going to get to third base. Next pitch is going to be a fastball. I'm going to hit it. I'm going to go after it. Because they're scared to snap a breaking ball in the dirt or throw something wild. So, trying to know those type of nuances to help us be successful, I think is good. And, they've done a good job buying in. Again, at first they struggled, we bunt all the time, and, we'll have bunt rounds. We'll have bunt rounds or bunts every round. We'll have bunt machine behind the cage set up. We'll have bunts in the cages as part of their station work as well. So they're going to get 3 different types of, bunt touches per day. And they struggled, and a lot of it was just form and not understanding. But a lot of it was, it's I get to right now, they didn't understand that it was a successful thing. It wasn't a, you can't hit, so you have to bunt type thing. And I think that was the culture that was there before. So, okay, how can we change that vision of, hey man, you're 0 for 0. Like, you get a bunt and you're 0 for 0, or what, even if you get on base, great. Or you drag bunt, you move that third baseman in. Next time you slap it by him because he's 2 feet shorter than he was before. So you're opening up holes. So it was just explaining that kind of full philosophy to them that that we had to do. And we spent a lot of time on it, whether it be on the field or in the classroom, and the more that they've done it, the better they've got. And like I said, they're buying in pretty good. I mean, they're a lot better this fall than they were in the spring. That's for sure.
Sure. And you could definitely get some head spinning too. Did you feel, because you get some your Northeast background, spend time. Do you feel that, I guess depending on the Northeast ball that you do play, but did you feel like it was so much different West Coast baseball than it was in kind of what you see somewhat in the Northeast?
For me, no, because we played it at DeSales. We played it at Southern Lehigh High School where I went. It was very similar. So I grew up in the environment, obviously being with my dad and his program growing up.
Yeah.
So I saw it. And I was fortunate enough to play for Dick Ludy, who was the Boyertown American Legion head coach for a long, long time in the 80s, won like 48 and 62 consecutive games in a row at different parts of his career. And they just bunt and bunt and bunt and bunt and bunt. And, he obviously put that into our system at DeSales when he was there too. And, I remember him always saying there's no easy bunts. And it's true. Even that ball back to the pitcher, how many times that guy pick it up and throw it away? So it's, again, creating havoc, creating pressure. Now that was, I don't want to say over the top, but it might have been over the top than what most people are used to. I get that. And I get, again, play for the big inning. I'm not against playing for the big inning and just sitting back and hitting doubles and triples, but you got to know your clientele and be able to do that, and it didn't matter to sales. I mean, we won 4 league championships. We're in 4 regionals and played in the College World Series. And, whether you were the third hitter and first and second leadoff hitter, second guy got on first game, first inning, bottom over. Like, it didn't matter whether you were 1, 3, 9, anywhere in between. you were going to do it. And I think that's, the buy-in of the system, because we knew it worked, so the more we can kind of get our guys to buy in, or anybody to buy in at this point, is going to be successful for you moving forward. So, again, I wouldn't say it's much different just because I'm used to it. But, I do know there's a lot of high schools that never did it. And that's okay. And that's the cool part about your different coaching philosophies, and, what are you going to buy into, and what are you going to get your guys to believe in to make the program successful? And there's no wrong answer. There's really not. It's just, okay, do they agree, and will they do it? If they don't, okay, how can we make them do it? And if you still don't, well, then we got to, go back to the woodshed and find something else.
So another question I'm curious about, because just getting your take on this is, because you're involved in the academy now and get the youth level. At what point do you feel like they should be bunting, and should be kind of thinking about this kind of system, due to the fact of they're still trying to. I'm just interested in understanding that conversation, because right now you could see arguments on both sides, and I agree. Like you just have to. It's all based on your clientele. Like I knew, like there were days, like look back now, like I definitely should have bunted more with one out because of what the clientele that we did have. But I'm like, I just did, like it was just like I wasn't going to hang my hat on it, like I just couldn't, I just wasn't. But I knew, looking back on it now, it probably could have got us in a better place, and because like it's tougher. But that's just me. So just want to get your take on that, being a real loving the bunt and loving the West Coast offense. When should that start from like a youth level?
So when we had the Florida Surge program, I mean, they were 12 years old. We put it in there, and there were some good players, and I think it's always good to introduce and try to put it in, whether you like it or not. It's a system that you can put in that if you need it, it's there. It's a weapon in your holster. It's another bullet in your chamber, however you want to talk about it, that, it gives you options, I'm not saying you have to. And there was days, I mean, again, there was one point we were 12 years old, and I think it was like 88 hits and we had 40 home runs, because it was either a home run or a pop-up. Like it was just, I had bigger guys that, were older for 12U that were still there, and, playing on 200-foot fences with the trampoline bats. It was a joke, but knowing that they had that weapon, if they ran into that buzzsaw to try something different, is huge, and I think that's where it's tough sometimes, is they don't, they don't have the weapon. And then when the weapon's not there, then it's hitting the panic button, right? Well, okay, hey, I'm 0 for 2 and this guy's carving me up, we really need to do something here. Okay, let's try it. Let's go. And those are some good things. So I think, it's always good to start introducing it. Again, what level, it's going to, depend on what your system may be. But the more that you can, give them weapons to be successful is huge. Whether that's 10, 12, 14, 30, whatever it may be, it's a huge thing to be able to have them be confident in their abilities, and knowing that, hey, if he calls on me to do it, I can do it. And I think that's the, the missing piece sometimes, is giving them confidence, and the more confidence they can have, what would, be doing, whether that's getting on the mound and throwing a different pitch, whether that's bunting, whether that's taking this base, I don't care if you're the slowest guy on the team, you're going to steal bases. I'm going to teach you how to steal bases. I might not send you when, at games on the line, you might not be the guy going, but we're going to push, and make them, again, have that weapon and that extra bullet to use,
Sure. I like it. I like it because of the fact of, I mean, it's just real, like it's, my son's 60 pounds, 11U, playing on a really, really good team. And he might need to incorporate that in his game when that other people might not, or like part of them. At the same time, other guys just might not, and depending on your level, we're going to be able to hit a bunch. You might not need to implement it. Or just, let's say, not as much, but like you said, having it available when you need it, is pretty valuable for sure. I always like to say, like, I love my teams to be able to do what the game calls for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to be able to do what the game calls for. And like you said, if the game's going to call for us to put a bunt down, then we need to be able to put a bunt down.
Right.
Love it, buddy. Love it. Oh, man. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Good stuff. Good stuff. So, Manatee High School. So, when you're still rebranding, what's been like, I guess as you're moving forward, like what's been one of the biggest challenges that you've had so far just with rebranding and moving forward and what you're trying to do within the program?
I would say there's been a ton of challenges. I think it's just, I think they were ready for something new. And I like the old staff, the old regime. I thought they did a good job. But I think the kids are just looking for something new. They're looking for a new energy, a new feel, and sometimes things get stagnant, and you got to try to make those things successful and make people have a little bit more fun doing what they were doing. And, I think for us coming in and, the background of me and my staff, which doesn't mean anything to us, but, to some of these players and parents to have, to be able to read those bios is kind of cool for them. It doesn't matter to real baseball guys, but to have something different in the levels that we've been at is cool, and now it's okay. Hey, there's instant credibility, right? And there's instant energy of, hey, this is going to be different. This is going to be an elevated program. And, there's just going to be some things that we didn't have, again, it starts with something simple as the logo, something simple as how you communicate, the signage in the locker room. We basically gutted it and put everything back up. We changed the nameplates. We changed everything. And those little things, whether they help you win or not, doesn't matter. But seeing change, seeing a new direction, seeing, an attitude that's going to be conducive to winning, whether it's day one or 5 years from now, I don't know. Getting them excited is that was the biggest challenge, and I think we did that. I think we came in and, we didn't throw haymakers. We weren't demanding that this is going to be how it is. It's not going to be X, Y, Z or you're gone. But we added the excitement factor to it, and then the rest of it kind of falls in place, because if they're excited about their new gear, and kids like gear and swag or whatever you want to call it, like, the more we can fundraise and the more we can do and, put up new windscreen and put up new signage in the outfield and, get more people at games and get a new announcer and, again, just build some excitement to it, then people come and people stay and people buy in. And I think, looking back, that wasn't the challenge, but it could have been. It could have went the other way pretty quick if they didn't buy into those sort of things. But it's a great place. Manatee is a great place. The history here is unbelievable, and really, it's the biggest reason I took the job was knowing that the history and how ingrained the west side of Bradenton is about Manatee athletics, whether it's football, basketball, baseball. It's an unbelievable place. Football has been, it's the most winningest program in the state of Florida in its history. It was Manatee football. So knowing that it can be done there and knowing that the success they had here in the past, the future can be very bright for sure.
Oh, there you
go. There you go.
Yeah, muted. I said, it sounds like you've been a busy guy.
It's been a whirlwind of a year for sure, but a good thing, in a good way, And again, the support's been there. We have our booster club is very, very active in helping me fundraise and do things, and we sold 50 fence banners last year. We raised a ton of money, and new screens, like I said, and all this signage and new T-shirts, and just all that stuff that builds a foundation for a program, not just a a team that comes out for 3 months.
Mm-hmm. Getting guys excited through all your facility upgrades, bringing in the baseball knowledge, the competency. Pitching is so important too. Like, I'm just kind of wrapping things up here. I know we've been on here a little around, so I'm just kind of thinking, because pitching is so important, and like we've kind of talked about this earlier, kind of with having a plan for the year of like when to shut down. So I'm sure that that's probably been had. So how are you? What kind of pitching, I guess, philosophy and that you're kind of including, because like that's such a big part of a program. Like, what are you incorporating there? Because you kind of talk about your West Coast offense. So pitching wise, how are you kind of developing that program?
Yeah, it's kind of an ongoing process with our pitching staff, because we really don't have any pitcher only type guys. So you're running into two ends of the spectrum where, okay, last year I had one pitcher only who's at East Georgia now. His plan was a little bit different, than our number one, who actually was a center fielder pitcher, So I think for me, that's still something I'm trying to massage. West Coast style, it's the same thing on the mound. I mean, we want to throw pitches every 10 to 12 seconds. We want to attack the zone. We want to get hitters out within the first 3 pitches they see. Make them make contact and put the ball in play, and let's play defense. Those are kind of that West Coast style. And then, the faster we can speed guys up, and slower we can slow them down on offense, then, we're going to win the game. Hopefully, there's no clock obviously in baseball, but if you can be on offense more than the other team is, you got a good chance to win. So, again, pitching wise, defense wise, it's an aggressive blue collar mentality. Like, here it is, here's my stuff. I don't care if it's 70 or 90, come get it, and go get them. Obviously highly fastball dominant type of staff, but very, very detailed on location and command and those sort of things. So, we chart and we put in high pressure bullpens every time, whether it's today we charted bullpens, next week when we do it, they'll be in situations where they get one pitch to get you out behind an account. And if you don't, something's going to happen, and try to make them uncomfortable where, they're out there and they got to figure it out. We had a tournament on our field this weekend, so our bullpen mounds, which are usually very nice, looked like a earthquake went through them. And, our pitching guys like, hey, let's not throw them. I'm like, no, put them on there. Who cares? They're a little muddy. They were a little bumpy. Like, go get them. You know what? Because we're going to play on fields that they look like that. So again, put them in those situations to be uncomfortable and say, figure it out and go get it. And, create your own toughness sometimes. We do a lot of location stuff, and whether it's, the 9-box targets or whether it's the wall stuff on the wall, or we do, the string across home plate, whatever it may be. But again, putting them in situations where, hey, you don't get it in. All right, there's going to be a consequence, and just make them hate losing, make them hate being unsuccessful, so they come out and they don't let anybody else beat them.
Cool, man. High pressure bullpens. You said one pitch to get somebody out. So basically they got to come in, basically execute a pitch, and then they got to roll. Is something that didn't happen, right? That's the objective?
Yep, pretty much. So, okay, hey, you know what? It's a full count. The dude on the mound has no breaking ball, but my best breaking ball guy's in the pen. All right, you get one pitcher throwing a breaking ball here. Get him out or we lose, and put that type of situation on. So we don't do that very often, but there may be a situation where, in an inter-squad game, we'll do it. And, bases loaded, 2 outs, full count. All right, well, this guy's a dead fastball hitter. You have nothing but a fastball. You haven't thrown anything but a strike for a fastball all day. So, all right, new guy, throw him a breaking ball. Go get him, or vice versa, whatever it may be. But, it's, again, trying to put them in situations to compete and be successful. And if they fail, they hate losing, and to try to create that hate losing environment, it's challenging sometimes, especially with the day and age we're in with, some of the travel stuff and show up and play. And if you lose, all right, we'll go home, there's some solid travel programs out there, Knights, US Elite, Scorps, Elite Squad, 5-star Kings, all those guys that do it the right way, Arsenal. but there's some that aren't, and if you're not in one of those programs, it's tough to keep that mindset going sometimes. So
100%. Yeah, for sure. It's definitely something that you have to. But like you said, I think it even goes to like what you said earlier was, you trying to change the culture of like we're going to shut down and we're going to practice and we're going to develop, because that's where also you develop that competitiveness. Like you can't just play 60, 80 games,
Right.
and you're just waiting for the next game,
Right.
and so that's also part of it as well.
No, no doubt,
Cool.
no doubt. It's the full athlete development, that we try to really instill, whether that would be, mentally, the competitiveness, the physical aspect of your body and speed, yoga, those sort of things. I mean, give them things that they can get excited about, at the end of the day. And if kids are excited to be there, they're going to have fun. They're going to be successful because they're going to want to learn. You make it miserable, you make everything a nightmare for them. You're going to lose your guys pretty quick, especially on the high school side.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So, anything else you want to touch base about with the program stuff that you've learned, advice, just anything, man? You want to just roll, man? It's been awesome, man. We're here over an hour. I mean, we're getting down to awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, advice for any new coaches out there is, always be open, learn a lot, and try to talk to guys and listen to podcasts or, check out videos or, go shadow programs. That's one thing I know, a lot of guys will do. Just try to take as much as you can, never stop. It's a lifelong learning game for sure. The person that says that they know it all or can't be taught, needs to stop. And the more we can be, together in all this, the better our sport's going to be. So certainly if anybody ever needs help on my end, please don't hesitate to reach out. And, would love to, help mentor more young coaches, grow through this game for sure.
Cool. What's the best way for them to do that?
They can, shoot me an email, just Nolan, Nolan .Neiman, Neiman @gmail.com. That's the best way, or, that's easy.
Nolan.Neiman @gmail.com. It's NEI, right? NEI,
Yep.
MAN?
Yep, you got it.
That's it.
Very
Fantastic.
cool.
Dude,
Well, I appreciate it, man, and definitely anytime, and good talking and catching up, and been a while. But
it has been a while, man.
love what you're doing. Love what you're doing with the podcast, and just creating content for the future of this sport and our profession. The high school side is such a unique but vital part of their careers, and be able to push them forward and get them to on to the next level. So I appreciate it.
Coach Neiman just killing it, man. Just great talking to him. It's been a while, and it's great for us to be able to connect. And I just love hearing him just talk, building a program. For me, I just feel all those challenges of just starting a program and all the communication and how much energy you invest into so many little things, all the details, the classroom, the grades, making sure people are holding the line, your expectations, you're holding accountable, how we're going to talk, what the nameplates look like, what does the stickers on the helmet look like. Oh, man, just a ton of different things, and how you just need to rebrand it. Like you said, you're rebranding. You're making it your own. You are creating and building something that's special for the kids to hold on to, something that's special that you're going to help grow and create, how people become successful. And you hear that throughout the conversation from all the things that he's doing, which is really great. All the detail-oriented stuff that he talks about, from the testing to showing people success, from kids getting suspended and holding them accountable for the standards, which really comes down to is just don't do anything to embarrass the team. Going into the community, holding Little League clinics, going into the games, their offensive system. We're going to put the offensive system in. Here's what we want to do. Creating more uncomfortable situations within a pitcher's bullpens, and getting them invested into the program. So it's really, really great stuff, and it's really great to talk to him, and really great to see that, he's trying to make an impact and has chosen Manatee and to lead their guys, and I'm sure they'll be successful. So, Coach Neiman, man, just can't thank you enough. It was great stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Keep getting better, man. I thank you for keeping us here. Here we are, an hour and 15 minutes, and we keep rock and rolling. If you have another guy that you feel, another person, I should say, because we've had great females come on, and people that we give us a chance to want to learn and keep going the game, feel free to reach out to me at Coach3Cobb or TracyCobb@gmail. Again, if you did not catch Coach Neiman's email, it's Nolan.Neiman, Neiman@gmail.com. It'd be a great contact in case you want to reach out to him to furthermore. So, like I said, I've said before, and you've heard it here many times, baseball guys are the best with being able to share, and love talking baseball, and that's what this is all about. So feel free to share, reach out. Until next time, keep getting better.